My name is Sharan Chandradath Singh. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I am the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for Minerva project. Yeah, I think right now higher education is at a crossroads, and if it doesn't innovate, it will face great peril. Higher education is based upon a model that was created when society was very different, when learners and young people thought and behaved very differently. And it has become commoditized in a sense. It became like a factory where we're producing a very particular type of output. And in the highly interconnected, complex, rapidly evolving world in which we are today, that model doesn't work. So higher education must innovate, and it must do so rapidly. And I think rapid innovation is not conceptual. There is decades of research on how the mind works, cognitive science, on how effective learning works. We know that lectures don't work. Active classroom where students are participating with each other and debating and presenting and unpackaging concepts is far more powerful. We know that tests don't work. We know that ongoing regular feedback, gentle nudging over time. We know that narrow context doesn't work. We know that multiple contexts, understanding skills and how it applies here versus there. Research has said this for decades. The problem is the inertia and the cautious culture of universities that prevents them from making the changes that everybody knows needs to be made. So we're not changing for changing's sake. We're changing based upon decades of research and science, and now or never. There are very particular things. You can evolve the pedagogical approach, how people teach, empower teachers with the tools, both concepts and training, but also technology and whatnot, to teach more effectively. Update the curriculum, make it more interdisciplinary, embed durable skills into it, change the business model, make higher education more accessible to a greater amount of people. Technology can play a huge role in that. There's a lot out there about what you can do specifically, but it's very particular, the solution, to the context of the individual institution. It depends on the particular profile of the student, what kind of faculty you have, what facilities you have. So I think it's really important that, for me, I think more macro about this. There's no urgency in higher education for change right now because it's a social good. Hey, we're putting out people and we're filling the workforce. But industry is saying that the product that's coming out is not work ready. Societal problems seem to be getting worse in many instances rather than better. And so if you hold a magnifying glass up to higher education, is it playing the role it's playing? Is it, standing up to the social contract that it's meant to stand up to? My personal perspective is no. And it's up to, in my mind, therefore, whether you're fixing, curriculum, whether you're empowering faculty, whether you're changing the business model, whether you're doing new facilities, technology, it all boils down to leadership. And not leadership from the top. I think a big thing here is it boils down to collective leadership. From the professor and the student in the classroom taking ownership to we're going to hold each other more accountable for better education, more dynamic and relevant education, all the way through to the rector and the government who need to create the enabling environment for that. But transformation actually happens in the classroom. It happens nowhere else. And everybody has to be accountable to that. Well, I think it relates to my answer, the last one, where it's about culture. It's about creating enabling environments, inspiring people, enabling people. I think you need to have demonstrations. So Universidad de la Libertad is a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate, not just talk in a conference, but show physically with a building, with students, with new programs. This is actually a unique way to do it. Because too often, the culture of higher education around innovation is they wait for somebody else to do it. That's something that's held a lot of institutions back. We don't want to step outside the boundaries because it's unfamiliar and it's scary and our faculty might push back or the students might not want to come. But when somebody does it, then everybody can follow it. There's a real tangible example. Now, the key is to show that the new model works. But the interesting thing is higher education is becoming sort of modularized now, where there are stackable certificates and diplomas and boot camps and whatnot. So you don't need to wait 4 years to show that a new model works. You can do it in more concentrated periods. So I think for me, the wonderful opportunity now is that you're seeing examples like this university that are really not just thinking conceptually and having academic debate, but are actually making tangible gains to demonstrate a new model. And what I suspect is over time, as these models are demonstrated, momentum will build because confidence will, hey, okay, that's a really good example. We can actually, and it's done in my country, well, I can do it. So the UNAMs and Universidad de Guadalajara's and other, they need really nimble organizations like this to demonstrate and to push them as well. At the fundamental sort of foundational level of this is they need to understand durable skills. Things like the ability to think critically, to investigate and unpackage a problem and understand how something from over here applies to over there. They need to be curious and creative thinkers. They need to be collaborators. No matter what, if you can't collaborate with others in your organization or in your life, you're just a smart person on your own. They need to be able to communicate effectively, which enables you to collaborate effectively. The interesting thing about those, people often call those things soft skills. They're very hard skills, they're human skills, but they're universally applicable. It doesn't matter whether you're a data scientist, a doctor, or a dentist. You need to be able to collaborate and talk to people. You need to be able to problem solve. And now, the problem with education is it trained engineers to be good engineers. But an engineer is a very logical person. They understand logical thought process. So they should, by assumption, be good problem solvers. They're not teaching them problem solving, they're teaching them engineering. So when it comes to their taxes, their relationship, their community problems, they don't transfer that knowledge from engineering problem solving into that. And there's a lot of research that shows like doctors, for example, have a lot of relationship issues, but they're great at diagnosing problems. Why? Because you learn, you practice how you learn. If you don't learn to practice sort of these core skills in many different contexts, if you only learn in one context, you'll apply it in one context. And so I think one of the most fundamental changes is to make programs more interdisciplinary, make them more sort of industry and application oriented, and teach the way that people will eventually work. It should be hybrid, it should be dynamic, it should be in collaborative working spaces. And that's why an institution like this is a great opportunity, because we know all this, and because this is a blank slate, we can create something according to what we know works really well. Like, I can't prescribe you that it's going to be career X or career Y, but I have instincts. I have instincts that creativity combined with problem solving is going to be worth its weight in very precious metals. Because things that are repetitive, we know that artificial intelligence, robotics, big data, big computing, those things are going to replace accounting and secretarial work and legal drafting. That's not complicated work. It was sophisticated work, but the machines are sophisticated now. What those things cannot replace are innate human creativity, the ability to break things and figure out how to fix them back, right? They operate with rules. And so how do you work outside of the rules? So for me, problem solving and creativity are really interesting. I do think that the future is interdisciplinary. So in the medium term, it's how do you bridge between disciplines? It's a really interesting opportunity. So, at the very superficial level, people are talking about things like upcycling as an industry. So yeah, instead of just throwing garbage away, turning garbage into new products and stuff like that. Great, right? That's an industry right now in the short term, and it might create some employment. It's like extending the value chain. Create a product, use the product, throw it away, upcycle it. Great. I think the education of the future is going to create people that will identify an even bigger opportunity than simply extending the value chain. Create new value chains where the intersection of disciplines. How does law, design thinking, and data science come together? What happens inside there? And therefore, you have to be able to utilize these superpowered tools, AI, robotics, and whatnot, but to challenge them to be super creative and super critical and force them to their breaking point to push past inertia. So it's a broad answer. It's not a specific answer that it's going to be X and Y, but we don't know. Anybody that says that they know, I'd be fairly skeptical. I think we have instincts about where things are going. Yeah, I think technology and accessibility is a double-edged sword. The pandemic, in my opinion, was a huge lost opportunity because everybody focused on quantitatively keeping it alive, making sure students could take classes. And nobody said, whilst we're doing that, can we even do better? Can we improve? We also did not expand access. all of the focus was on sort of keeping the current machine running. And there is an incredible opportunity. The opportunity cost of expanding to a student virtually is a fraction of building a building. It's a laptop and an internet connection. And the cost of those things are plummeting. And the more you use them, the lower they go. So if you really want to expand access, technology is the example. Two things on technology. Technology is an amplifier. Technology will amplify strength and weakness. If you are teaching poorly, online you'll be even worse. If your curriculum is irrelevant, online it'll be even more irrelevant because the personality of the professor won't be there to mask how irrelevant this thing is. So technology is an amplifier. So technology is not the solution. Curricular reform, teacher training is the prerequisite to technology being used effectively. The second thing is video conferencing was great to survive education during the pandemic, but it's not built for teaching and learning. Now, some of those companies are now evolving and they're adding functionality in their technology for effective pedagogy, breakouts and documents you could collaborate on and whatnot. But again, it's not fit for purpose. And so using technology that is particularly relevant to your program, to the culture of learning in your country or your institution is really relevant. But I think most importantly, there is a qualitative dimension to this. Don't just take what you're doing right now and rewrite it for technology. There's an opportunity in the shift to technology to actually build for technological environment. Technology removes the shackles of place. So if we think educationally of the classroom as the container, right? We have to build for a lecture. We have to have PowerPoint slides and a whiteboard and seats. But if all of a sudden the classroom is the mobile phone or the place we live in, the park, right? Then you have to rethink the curriculum. What you could do in 90 minutes in a park from an interdisciplinary perspective, you can learn about biomimicry, you can learn about engineering, you can learn about urban space, so much you could do, you can't do in a classroom. So technology, in my mind, should not be used, in summary, to just replicate. There should be a qualitative dimension to what we do, but I think there's an incredible innovation opportunity that technology unlocks.